Woohoo! Got a monkey butt. Got a big dumb dog butt. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It's Friday. Trading day is over. Finn and Max Payne again. NASDAQ took a nosedive on Amazon shitting the bed. NASDAQ's not doing very well. Down 13% on the month. Over 20% on the year. Is the worst month for the NASDAQ since 2008. What happened in 2008? We also have the housing market is imploding. Foreclosures are up 39% or something. 181% since 2020. Yeah, so what's going to happen? The Central Bank of Switzerland lost $32 billion. HSBC is being talked about as needing to be broken up. They own Lloyd's, and who else they own? Barclays, maybe? I can't remember. A bunch of other banks. And then Deutsche Bank is just douchey as usual. Is that all my news I had to come up with at the top of the hour? I think that's it. So, do what we normally do, which is you guys say weird things and I respond to them. So, and forgive me, it's just bone-chilling cold in my house right now. We ran out of heating oil like a month ago, thinking, we don't need to order another $500 in heating oil. It's going to be spring, and it's just been like snowing and hailing and thunderstorming and just so cold. So the door's closed. I should probably mine cryptocurrency with my computer right now just so it'll warm up the room a little bit. But I am freezing my tits off right now. Okay. Chad Clifford's asking if I managed to watch the thing on Gherkin's entropy swaps, and I totally didn't. Did I write that down to remind myself? No, I didn't write it down to remind myself. Gherkin entropy swaps. Okay. Oh, and I just launched my pen. Where'd it go? Oh. The Squamps pen flying away. No, I totally forgot to do that. So now it's on my list. I can see it. I can go click on it with the other three things I haven't done anything about on that list. All right. Florence Nightingale, the Florence Nightingale. Houston, enjoying your shows. I have exactly 6,000 shares of GME. What? My goal is to create the largest nursing scholarship fund in the world. How would I sell during MOASS? Not looking for financial advice. 6,000 shares of GameStop. You're doing fine. Well, it'd be appropriate for Florence Nightingale to create a giant nursing school. Especially when there's war in Crimea. You have a lot of shares. That's a lot of that's a lot of shares to try and sell one at a time, like I'm going to do with my ladder method, because I don't have that many shares. Much easier for me to do, 100 steps rather than doing 6,000 steps. If I had 6,000 shares, and I know that I could probably start selling at a much lower level than someone who has got fewer shares. It's true. You guys will see more zeros in your account than anybody else. If it gets to $10,000 a share, you're going to be in the billions. So you don't have to worry about anything. Having $6 billion is pretty sweet. So my guess is you just wait until there's a bunch of zeros in your account and go, boop, peace. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So, yeah. People who have holdings like in GME in the thousands, their exit strategy is just going to be see you later, because they're already going to be millionaires or billionaires or whatever. They don't have to worry about the engine of the infinity pool. So Florence, I think you're going to be fine regardless. So yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Okay. Wait, 6,000 shares. That's $60 million, not a billion. I didn't do math right. Yeah. $60 million. So wait till another zero. You'll bet $600 million. You'll be good to go. It's cold. my processor normally doesn't work well when it hasn't warmed up yet. William Morgan, rough 4 months for stocks. S&P 500 at risk of booking the worst start of the year since 1942. What was going on in 1942? Was there a world war around then? Here's what pros say you should do now. NASDAQ has lost 20% since November. Breaking: AMC filed 14A with the SEC about its annual shareholders meeting. Speaking of which, if you want to nominate people for the board, nominations start 8 days from now, on May 7th. So 8 days from now, you can type up your letters, send them to the board for nominations to get some apes on the board. And those nominations have to be in, I think, by the 6th. Because the 6th marks 30 days before the 1-year anniversary of the previous shareholders meeting. So you got a month in there to do your nominations. Also, apparently, if you want to be nominated, you have to send in a letter saying, I am willing to be nominated. So 2 letters, one from the person who's going to do the nominating and one from the person who wants to be nominated. They got to send those letters off to the board as outlined in whatever corporate charter filings there are with the SEC, which we've shown on here a couple of times. So remember that. Okay, William Morgan also states, April 29th, stock futures slide as NASDAQ heads towards its worst month since 2009. He's throwing out the headlines here. Stocks tumbling to cap worst 4-month start to year in decades. I think it's the worst since they were keeping track since 1973 or something. Yeah, goodness gracious, a lot going on. Okay. Chad Clifford, Houston, if teeth are bone, why can't they heal like bone? Why do they get cavities and such? Thank you. I mean, they're bone because they're bone. Why they get cavities is because they're exposed. If you had, like, your arm snapped and a bone sticking out of your arm, it too could probably get infections like that and get bacterial infections and have little bacteria drill holes into it, especially if you smeared it with, like, sugar. So that's probably what keeps your regular bones from getting those bacterial infections, is that they are covered in a meat incubator, while your face bones are out exposed, working away all the time. And that is why they don't have the regular blood flow around them, into them, all that stuff that regular bones do, because they are weird little things. If you ever want to be freaked out, just look at a baby skull. Baby skulls are one of the creepiest things in the entire world. And just bring you nightmares. Here we go. You ready for this? Are you ready for the horror that is baby skulls? Look at this thing. Just look at this thing. Look at that. Is what is inside your head when you're born. Every cute little baby you see is just a Gatling gun loaded with teeth. How freaky is that? What the heck? What the heck? Baby skulls. Friggin' weird, man. Look at these monsters. What type of like, if you just had something like that as a creature in a horror movie, that would be the most terrifying thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And that is every baby ever. Just loaded up, like, just, you know, a merc putting a bunch of bullets into a clip. That is what that's gives me the willies. Okay. Oh, fucking God. I got 1 out of 4 this week. 1 out of 4. After going 2 whole weeks. Feather plucker got me excited about baby skulls. Ugh. Okay. That was a little too soon. You know, someone wrote me a lovely letter, and they made a checklist. It says, hang on wall behind monitor. This is from Ryan. They made a lovely checklist. It says, "Happy birthday. Turn off intro. Like and subscribe. Remember to record podcast." Fuck, I didn't record that. Buy, hold, DRS if you want, and hedgies are effed. Problem is I have a beautiful picture of the Northwest behind my computer. So they'll sit and they'll get buried in papers. God dang it. Ryan, I know you're trying to help. I'm just a friggin' bonehead. And I walked around half the day with my fly undone, so that's the day we're dealing with. That's the day we are dealing with. Like, nothing to be like, oh, I'm gonna go use the it's already down. Oh, how long has it been like this? Where did I go? Who didn't say what they saw? Okay. Chad Clifford talking about bones. William Morgan, iBonds, what to know about the inflation-protected asset that could soon offer a 9.6 return. Return. But my guess is those are bonds. The interest rates on bonds are going to be flying. And people are going to leave the market to go put their money into bonds. Because why would you have your money in stocks that are going to be plummeting and you can put them in bonds where you're going to be earning interest at a higher rate? I wonder if we're going to see these higher rates actually reflected in, say, our savings accounts at the bank, or if the interest rates on our savings accounts are still going to be like 0.25% that nets you a penny every year or something. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Curious one. If paint drying looked like a David Fincher movie, that's the Batman. In this case, fecal matter. Also, Confessions of EHM ruled excellent. I've not seen that one. Confessions of EHM. Don't know that one. Excellent recommendation. Noted. Magus Creed. Are we actually in the end game now? Everything is taking a dive off a cliff. SPY, Dow Jones, NASDAQ, Amazon, and we're just holding our shares all the same. Not dancing, but I'm starting to stretch. Yeah, I think this is it, man. While the stock price is below 130, you may want to just load up if you can, and we'll rock and roll, man. We'll rock and roll from there. Wheat Wild. Houston, I voted this week. I also voted as well. But the paperwork was through Interactive Brokers. So I'm worried I might get screwed when it's MOASS time. Also, can you give a brief explanation on Saturn's rings and tidal forces? Okay. Interactive brokers may screw you. They may turn off the sell button. I doubt they would, though, because they need to balance those books. But they were one of the ones to shut off the buy button. My guess is that when it comes time to sell, they're going to try, and the shady stuff they'll do is sell out from under you, somehow not give you the price you wanted. Weird things like that may happen. But I think overall, through most brokerages, you're going to be able to sell and get rid of this stuff when you want to. I'm not too worried about those shenanigans, because stuff like this could result in class action suits that would just wipe out entire companies and vast fortunes of their owners. So I'm not too worried about that. Also, brief explanation on Saturn's rings and tidal forces. Okay, let me... All right, so we are all aware of Saturn's rings, little bits of rock and ice and stuff that makes beautiful layers out at the sends out from the equator of Saturn, and they orbit Saturn very beautifully. We've seen the Cassini space probe just took amazing images of Saturn's rings, and got some cool close-ups and all sorts of pictures in different wavelengths, and they're just gorgeous, right? So there's an artist rendering of the Cassini space probe flying around the rings. Now, the rings are not a permanent feature. We just happen to be alive during a period where there are rings. rings degrade and they fall on the planet's surface and eventually disappear. But Saturn's rings are maintained by what are called shepherd moons. So shepherd moons. These are little moons that are inside the rings themselves. And what they do is they basically straighten the rings. The rings start to get a little out of whack, and then the shepherd moons fly by and they straighten. They button themselves up, and they're like, "Aye, aye, sir," and they get right back in line. So Saturn's rings may be maintained longer than they normally would be via these shepherd moons that are basically asteroids that have some gravitational pull on the dust and debris that's inside the rings, and maintains them that way. The rings, they're ordered. They have like E, G, F, whatever, A, B, C, D rings. So got all these guys. They're given different names based upon basically the shepherd moons that herd what's inside the rings. And these rings form inside what's called the Roche limit. And you may have heard me use that term in the past. There's a point with a large gravitational body where one end of that body that's closer to the planet accelerates slightly faster than the end that's further away. So if you are a comet or an asteroid or a not well put together rock of some kind, and you are falling towards that planet, you may actually stretch and break inside the Roche limit. And so the rings of Saturn represent possibly comets and asteroids. They got too close to Saturn and then ripped apart as a result of those tidal forces. And that's why they're there. And now they have these little shepherd moons that kind of maintain and keep them all going. So there you go. There's a brief explanation there for you, Wheat Wild. And and tidal forces. Bam. Shoot. Bing bong. Blop blop. Father Ted Crilly speaking. The bidet is a small extinct French horse. So it is. All right. Cool. Okay. Well, between Saturn, Jupiter, and their moons, please, thank you. Oh, it's continued. Yes, other planets have rings. Jupiter has rings. You just don't see them very well because they're not as pronounced. Neptune and Uranus. There's some rings around Uranus, so they all form in that Roche limit zone. Dossier. Someone's stashing Doge, perhaps as a base supply for Twitter currency. They'll need a base supply if Twitter uses Doge for transactions. Yeah, I mean, most of the Doge on Earth is owned by Robinhood, isn't it? That's then they have like billions in Doge that they originally bought so they could make it tradable on their platform. So, what do you guys think? And Robinhood is shit in the bed. They're laying off 10% of their force. The stock is below $10. Remember I had the IPO last fall? And it hit a peak of like 80 something bucks. It's now $9 and change. They also reported they lost like 40 something % of their clients. So turning off the buy button to stave off a margin call will result a year and a half later in their company probably ceasing to exist. Here's the bet. Which brokerage is going to buy them and adapt their user interface into their brokerage accounts? Because they'll get whatever accounts still remain, but they will finally take that UI and apply it to, the Fidelity interface sucks. The Schwab interface sucks. So many of these user interfaces are just garbage. I wonder who's going to take that proprietary Robinhood UI that they'll get for pennies and use it for a better brokerage overall. I don't know. Sam H. Deutsche Bank raided by German authorities today, a day after Deutsche Bank whistleblower Val Bruckschmidt found dead. Yeah, Deutsche Bank and HBSC are HSBC, sorry, are the most corrupt banks on planet Earth. They should not exist. They should be destroyed and broken up into 1,000 little banks. They're bad people, and all they do is launder money for drug dealers, warlords, Russian mafia. That's the prime customer that their banks are designed to work for. And I mean, they'll launder $40 billion for Russian mob against sanctions, get busted for it, pay $1 billion fine, and go, oh well, and then keep doing it. So that's they need to just be done. I'd say number 3 might be Credit Suisse, and then Bank of America probably. Kyle Cooper, Houston, my guy. Rewatching Briscoe County Jr. as you reminded me of last week. Question: wouldn't mankind be better or ill-served if we had 2 butts? Follow-up: where is second butt location? I think that's what we're trying to ask. Well, considering Briscoe County Jr. stars Bruce Campbell, I would suggest the second butt location would be right there. Second butt. Well, yeah, right there. So just right out. Nice and efficient. Second butt. You can just shit out your chin while you're talking. And everyone would go, oh, he's butt farting off out of his chin. Fantastic. Father Ted Crilly again. Bidets were first identified in the 15th century. They were used as jack of all trades, equally suited for writing, farm work, and passenger transport. Father Ted Crilly. Spitting some facts, apparently. I feel like I want to trust this information and not go to the internet and see if you are pulling this out of Father Ted Crilly's ass. I don't know. I'm just going to choose to believe this. So, Father Ted Crilly, thank you for the wisdom and for the enlightenment of the fact that bidets was a small extinct French horse. I don't know how a small French horse would go extinct in the 15th century or later. Seems like there would be some sort of lineage, but maybe they got bred into some sort of dopey animal and they're sort of like bulldogs and they just can't survive on their own in the wild anymore. I don't know. So I'm just going to choose to believe you. Where'd it go? Where'd that go? Where was it? Where was it? All right, that's Kyle Cooper. Nope, wrong one. Oh, there it is. There we go. Okay. William Morgan, this won't be like 2008 and 2020. The Fed printed money both times to bail out the market. That caused massive inflation. That's just getting started. They can't bail markets out again. Well, never say they can't. They can. They are caught between a rock and a hard place. They need to raise interest rates so that when the shit does hit the fan, they at least have the tool of lowering interest rates to spur investment. Problem is they should have started raising interest rates like 6 or 8 months ago, maybe last summer. But, if they don't print money, how are they going to pay us? Because we want to get paid, man. We want to get paid. So they better. Everyone else can suffer from inflation. I'll be fine with my billions of dollars on a beach somewhere. William Morgan, this will be like the 1929 crash. It didn't recover until 1950s. That would be gross. I would prefer not to have it be like that, but such is life. Beverly S. Hey gang, has life always been this complicated? The only thing I'm sure about anymore is hodl. Or hodl, as some people say. Has it ever been this complicated? It certainly is a weird time. The future's weird, man. What a weird time to be alive. You gotta make the most of it because we might be uninhabitable in like 50 years. So, I mean, I'll be ancient by then, so I won't have to worry about that. But you know, children today, they'll be in their 60s and they'll be like, oh my gosh, why'd I ever have children of my own? They suffered through this. But man, the future's weird. Drew, do you think high XX holders pre-dividend could walk away billionaires? I would hope so. I'm not going to count on it that I'm going to be one of those folks. Again, I think there'll be some random person or two who sells a single share during a weird moment when there's nothing listed in the bid-ask spread, and they're going to sell for a ridiculous amount of money because some trading computer's like, well, I got that money in the account, I need shares. It's not going to be everyone. What I'm shooting for is enough to retire. That's all I want, is enough to retire, and anything more than that is icing on the cake. So I'm not counting on me being one of those people. I just don't think I miss the boat on everything constantly. That I just don't think I have the wherewithal to pick the right moment to do what I'm supposed to do. That's why I've made my step ladder plan, and I'm going to stick to it. In Father Ted, the word bidet was gradually substituted by pony, a term imported from the English-speaking countries during the 1820s and 1830s. More at 5. Well, thank you, Father Ted Crilly speaking. We have learned so much today about how a horse squirts water out of its mouth and cleans your butthole. It has been enlightening, and I hope to see more at 5. Thank you. Father Ted Crilly should do an entire YouTube channel on nothing but bidet horses. Bidet pony. Crafted Genius, can you mint us an NFT through Loopring like Lightning Warrior did? Sure. What should it be on? I'm not particularly artistically competent. Although my brother Gardner is artistically competent. He's an engineer, and we have different moms. His mom's an artist, and he got genes that result in him being able to paint beautiful pictures. All 3 of my older siblings can just do the most fabulous artwork that me and my other siblings have no hope of accomplishing. Maybe he can make some artwork that we can NFT on the Loopring Gmerica platform. That'd be good. Trey Spider, need my big dog fix. Hey, Snoopy. 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 Snoopy, Snoopy. Snoopy, 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 Snoopy. You want to come up here and be annoying? Yeah? Want to come up here and be annoying? There we go. There's the big dog. He's like, why'd you wake me up? Can I put my head on your keyboard? Is that what we're here for? Oh, to scratch your brains. Just scratch the big dog brains. That's what there's not much in there, so we can scratch it out almost like, just pick the little pea brain out of there. Scoop. I got your brain. I got your brain. You're not any smarter or dumber than you were before I had it. Okay. Kyle Banta. The Fed, however, can, in lieu of bailouts, raise rates after multiple rate cuts when they deem inflation contained in their ridiculous opinion. That's true. They can do whatever they want. Zachary Delia. So, I remember that we have all been saying a big market drop would cause GME to spike, but it seems the banks will never margin call each other. That is the biggest issue. Like, the whole reason you margin call someone is because they're going to lose you a fortune. You just need to close those positions and just accept the fate that it's going to cost you money. But margins have grown so large that one of these firms can kill an entire bank, let alone hundreds of them, right? So if you have the margin, let's say margin call 100 hedge funds that all average $100 billion in margin. Okay? So you're at $10 trillion. Ooh. You have $10 trillion in margin to deal with. Plus, the family funds. Let's say half the family funds. So that's another $3.5 trillion. So you got $13.5 trillion in margin you have to close. And these banks at most might have 10 billion in cash on hand at a time, even the biggest banks, because most of that stuff is tied up. Especially since they've been giving their excess cash to the Federal Reserve in this reverse repo program and taking on securities, treasuries usually. And even then, what's sitting in the Reserve Bank is like $1.5 trillion. So you might be able to take care of 10% of that margin at current prices. Not if that margin flies to the roof due to forced buying from something like GameStop, which result in $90 trillion, $100 trillion in margin liabilities. So these banks don't want to do that. We saw when Archegos blew up that groups like Credit Suisse, a year on, still had billions of dollars in liability that had not closed out yet left over from Archegos. So yeah, there may be a tough incentive to go, all right, hedge fund, you fucked up. We have to margin call you because no one has the money to deal with that. We are just... Father Ted Curley speaking. 5 p.m. Eastern Time. The history of the bidet is associated with the history of commoners and the state. These horses were only valuable for the work they were able to carry out and low cost. Ergo, bidets are left. Okay. All right. We've got so much bidet history thrown at us by Father Ted Curley today that I wish bidets were more common in the United States. It's really nice to have something to scrub your butthole rather than, your hand and some coarse paper. So let's all support making bidets a common household item in the United States. It would improve lives, reduce jock itch and saddle rash, and maybe each bidet should have like a Dr. Bronner's bottle, just a whole bunch of nonsense about the etymology of the term, so someone to read while they're sitting there, right? You need something to read. Maybe you forgot your phone and there's no, stack of magazines or something. So it's I think it will work out well for us. Just from Dex. Can you pick anywhere in the world where your number one retirement spot post-MOASS? I get asked this quite a bit. I like the idea of having the option open to get an EU passport. An EU passport and a US passport combo is like ironclad. You can travel anywhere in the world, not to worry about visas and things like that. So it'd be nice to go someplace where I can ski and go to the beach and possibly get residency and or a Euro passport. So yeah, like Spain, Portugal, south of France, something like that really appeals to me. Wheat Wild trying to convince me to go to Greece. I don't know how the skiing is in Greece, but cheap living, cheap cost of living, and beautiful, beautiful islands and gorgeous water. That is kind of what I'm feeling. But you can also do all sorts of crazy things. You can go to like Barbados, and for $100,000, you can become a Barbadian citizen and do weird stuff. So I don't know. Universal health care is important. Like being able to go somewhere and just be covered is so fantastic. Like there's a lot of Americans I know that will retire to Mexico or Panama because of the cost of living. And then, grandpa has a heart attack and they're 50 miles from the nearest hospital. When they get to the hospital, it is not good. So it's, I think if you're thinking about retirement, you have to think about healthcare. That's an important aspect of it. You can enjoy the beach and everything, and then, you get a staph infection and you're 100 miles from the nearest hospital. That can kind of suck. So think about that. Think about that. Where am I? The little bailouts one. Kyle Cooper, please explain housing market. My sister owns a house, but she says I'm a loser since I don't own a home. Will she be the loser when the housing market crashes? Possibly. It depends on when she bought. I think people who are buying houses right now are buying at the worst time. I think people who buy houses starting next fall or later will probably be the winners in this one. 2006, a friend of mine bought a house, a tiny little place in West Seattle for, I don't know, $500,000. Just this tiny little thing. And a year later, or a year and a half later, market collapsed. And that house suddenly that she bought for like $500,000 was worth $150,000. So she was $350,000 underwater on her house, meaning she's paying a mortgage for a $500,000 house and getting a $150,000 house in return. So she decided, she's like, you know what? I'm just going to walk away from this mortgage because that bad credit report will be on my credit record for 7 years. And she's like, well, I'm going to med school. And through med school and residency, that's going to take 7 years. By the time I am now an anesthesiologist, I won't have to worry about having that on my record anymore. And so what she did was she took some of our best friends, specifically my best friend and his then girlfriend, soon to be wife. And she's like, hey, do you guys want to live in this house rent free? And they're like, okay. So they moved in there and they were there for 4 years while like notices of like eviction kept popping up on the door from Bank of America, whoever it was. And they just ignored them. And the sheriffs never came to bother them. And then they eventually saved over the period of time. Maybe it wasn't quite 4 years. Maybe it was like 3 years because I think they bought a house in like 2011. So they saved a whole bunch of money because they weren't paying rent. And they used that to buy a house super cheap as the market hit its like absolute bottom in 2011 and picked that up. And then when they moved out, our friend who owned the house put her sister in there. And her sister's there for like 3 more years before the bank finally like sold the house out from under her and she had to leave. So for 6 or 7 years, that house remained in West Seattle being occupied by essentially squatters, but the bank wasn't doing anything about it. And we learned sometime during that period that the banks preferred to have squatters inside as long as the squatters were like mowing the lawn and taking care of things than to like kick people out, have it be empty and sit there for a year and a half. And then a bunch of meth heads come in and like pull the copper wiring out and stuff like that. So if the people were like mowing their lawns, the bank was just like, we'll just let it, we'll deal with it later when we get all these other houses taken care of. So if your sister who owns a home bought recently for an insanely high price, she may be underwater starting next fall or so, which means she's paying mortgage on a loan. The value of the loan is more than you could sell the house for at the moment. And that's when she'll be in trouble. So if you wait to buy until this market's collapsed and it's been like a year into this horribleness, you will come out a winner in the end. The friends who stayed there for free and then saved up money to buy a house, they bought their house also in West Seattle for like $240,000 and they just got appraised at $800,000. So they've more than tripled their investment in a decade by buying at the absolute bottom of the market. So they're doing all right. They don't even have a mortgage anymore. They paid that sucker off like that. So think about that. Also, around that time, must have been 2007, a friend of mine from high school was talking about like, I just bought a condo. I'm so excited. And she paid a fortune for this condo. I forgot how the conversation was going, but I was like, oh man, but the housing market's going to collapse. She's like, no, it's not. I said, I bet within a year, the housing market will start to collapse because the prices are too high. Like the average home price is so much higher for the mortgage than like the average income. There's no way that the population can support that. And she's like, you're so wrong. That's not going to happen. And so we bet $10. And like a year later, there's a headline in the newspaper, Seattle Times, that says housing prices drop for first time since 1980s or something. And I called her up and I was like, you owe me $10. The next time I saw her, she paid me. And she was underwater on the mortgage on her condo. So, oops. Daniel Motes, Houston. Do you think GME goes below 85 as desperation from hedgies as dividend vote gets passed? I don't know if it can. Again, we'll see. If that sticks a lot of puts in the money, then there's a bunch of shares that have to get purchased to deal with that, which causes the price to go up a little bit. I don't know. That's a pretty short scale to get it from 130 down to 85. If it does, I hope I have a lot more cash available. But the minute that vote goes through and they set a date of record, we should see some buying and some recalls. Just from DEX, are student loans going to be forgiven, or are they worried about all the slabs being used as collateral by financial institutions? Slabs are the securitized student loans. I don't think it will matter. I think if you're going to forgive them, you may as well do it while everything else is crashing. Because, what's one more log on the fire, man? No one gives a shit. I think it's a very real possibility that they forgive them. Mainly because the Biden administration promised to cancel a bunch of student loans, at least $50,000 worth. Other candidates running promised to cancel all of them, just get rid of them and start a new system that involves, free tuition at public schools, which is the way it should have been forever. You already paid for it. The government already paid for that education, so they can just go and delete. So I don't see how it is being as big a deal. There was $900 billion in PPP loans given out and then forgiven. So a bunch of rich people who get PPP loans can have their loans forgiven, but a whole bunch of working class students cannot. The prospect of a future where any kid who finishes school or community college or anything else can go to a quality higher education system and not have to worry about funding their way to get there, not worry about taking on loans or making their poor parents wait tables until they're 73 years old to pay for college, is beautiful. And one of the biggest things keeping people from college is the fact that they don't want to take on the loans and they don't have the money to do it. And I think that hinders our ability as a nation to truly achieve our potential. It is the biggest inhibitor from keeping minorities out of colleges, and people who are lower in the socioeconomic level from being able to get to that point where they can raise their family out of poverty, that generational poverty. So I think it's the bonuses, the plus side, outweigh any securitized student loan crap that Sally Mae or Navient or I can't remember all the names, Allianz and whatever can throw at you. That who gives a shit? Get rid of it. Okay. William Manduano. Get a sweater or a hoodie. I can't. I made myself a rule that unless I'm traveling, I wear a fancy shirt. And if I'm doing a Twitch stream, I don't give a crap what I'm wearing because only 10 people show up to the Twitch streams anyway. But I will wear the fancy shirts. It's actually kind of warming up in here now that the computer's been running and the door's been closed. So we're getting nice and warm, which in 2 months it'll be 150 degrees outside and I'll be sweating buckets and not be able to concentrate because it'll be too warm. But right now, I'm finally getting perfect. I'm not shivering anymore. The dog isn't shivering. We're good, right, monkey? Right? Right, monkey? Come on. Get up there. Get up there, monkey. Do it. There you go. Shabam. Yeah, everybody, little cute face pop out of there. There we go. Bex, hey Houston, happy birthday. If you have an oil furnace, you can also run it on diesel fuel, not heating advice. All right. But the problem is diesel fuel also costs a fortune. So there we are. Oh, Father Ted Lilly, last bidet fact promise: bidets are life number clean. Or life pound sign clean? Life hashtag clean? They're clean. My first experience with a bidet was not a good one, though. My stepmom's Japanese, and she was working in this sort of like Japanese art gallery. And I after school, came downtown with my friends, and I had to use the restroom, and the art gallery was right there. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ask Yuko if I can go use the restroom. So hey, Yuko, why Houston? I use the restroom. May I use the restroom? She's like, oh sure, go for it. And so I go use the restroom, do my business, and the toilet seat is a computer. There are buttons and LCDs and readouts and all sorts of things. And I didn't know, like, there was no flush handle. There was buttons. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, everything's like in kanji. I have no idea what any of this is. But there's one giant green button. I figure that has got to be the flush button. Hit that thing, and this dookie goes and just hose me down. Absolutely just like, wonk, and I jump out of the way. It's spraying all over the walls. I'm screaming like crazy. And so Yuko busts in, and she hits a bunch of buttons, and she's just dying. And I am soaked. The wall is soaked. And I still don't know to this day what the flush button was. So my first experience with the bidet was more like a water fight than anything else. There you go. There's my bidet fact. Kyle Banta, the Fed printing for the past 5 years is what led us here. Powell hasn't been helped by a noose around his neck by two administrations who even talking about lowering rates. That is a big problem, is that we were pumping the stock market the same way that corporate buybacks were happening, and we should have been letting it correct. But it's been a fake bubble for so long that no one wants to be left holding the bag. And so, you know, you pass on a growing, strong economy onto somebody else, and they, rather than take their foot off the gas because you're starting to travel a little too fast, they double down. So from 2000, probably 16, 17, until COVID in 2020, we probably should have been raising rates, or at least not cutting them anymore and letting the market kind of cool off some. And instead, we doubled down. We kept cutting rates and cutting taxes and exploding budgets and things like that. And then 2020 hit, and we had to slash everything all the way down to zero, which, you don't want to do that ever. And we had to pump trillions into the market, basically to keep doing what we already were doing, but we didn't really have the tools in our war chest come March 2020 to actually deal with a market crash. So we had to print way too much money. And if that money had gone to people, like average Americans, American citizens, and not to buoy hedge funds and rich people, which is what most of that money did. The PPP loans went to business owners who took vacations to Hawaii. It did not go to average workers 99% of the time. It did not filter down. So that money, that bailout money, 90% of it went not to the American people, but to people who were already rich. And that was, I think, the biggest downfall, because that money had to go somewhere. And it's not going to go into like products and goods and services. It's going to go into more investments. So the market saw this big old balloon of investment because there's nowhere else to put all this cash. And now we're going to be dealing with that. Is that we should have let the market dip. They shouldn't have bailed it out so much that the market didn't like have a sustained red turn throughout COVID. They put too much money in. Like it dove off a cliff into March 20th or whatever, and then they climbed it right back out again. It should have dove off a cliff, recovered a little bit, and then bear marketed its way down until we got through COVID, and then they could, pump away. But we reinflated that balloon too quickly, I think. Lugs, older houses have old heating systems. Yep. I think the furnace in this house is probably from the 50s. It's old. Andrew Stewart, Houston, I have found a love for high quality drafting pencils. Do you have any favorites? My dad would be the one to ask about that because he's an old school architect. He is the one who used drafting pencils. Me, I didn't have any fancy drafting pencils, so I don't know. I'm a bad person to ask about that. I'll ask my dad though. I'll say, "Hey, Dad, what's your favorite drafting pencil?" And he'll probably like reach into a box and pull out this like pencil out of a velvet case, and we'll be like, "This one." Because he's so old school, he never used CAD. He did everything by hand. Because he graduated with his engineering and architecture degrees in 1954, I think. He's old. My dad's old as shit. Moki wasn't this person making $20,000 a week selling covered calls. Alexandre Haquin. Houston, let's say our boy Melvin is starting a new short hedge fund. He sells long position to get some money. Could he give away short position to someone else and it becomes their problem? Yes. That's where those swaps come in. But he's going to receive someone else's horrible position in the process. The name of the game isn't to like be stuck with one of these things, but to keep passing it on and getting somebody else's horrible position, passing it on and getting somebody else's horrible position, passing it on, getting somebody else's horrible position, passing it on, and they just move this stuff around and around and around, and they just hope the music never stops because then they're going to be stuck holding this hot turd. And the way the market is dipping right now, this is kind of how I thought the market was going to go last fall. Especially when we were threatening not to raise interest rates, threatening not to raise the debt ceiling. But we somehow, the plunge protection team or something, kept this stuff afloat. And we somehow survived that, pretending like everything, like all is well. But at some point the music's going to stop, and then whatever hot turd you're holding is the turd you have to eat to have that shit-eating grin. So... music stops eventually. It does it every time there's a big downturn. Black Udon, that's what I do. I mine crypto to heat up my room. My PC is just by my legs blowing hot air. I literally did this to heat my entire house. The house I was living in before this one was the world's largest 2-bedroom. My friends and I called it Charles Mansion. And the electric furnace blew air and it was freezing. It didn't work at all. And the house was so big that like I just couldn't keep it warm. I couldn't figure out. So I went to Goodwill. I bought a whole bunch of terrible computers and I started mining Zcash with it. Zcoins. With like 20 computers, a bunch in the living room, a bunch in the dining room, some in my bedroom. And the power bill was like $500 or $600 a month. And I was making almost $600 in Zcash while I was mining that stuff. So it was paying for the heating bill. And it kept the house warm. Just all these computers just humming away, wasting energy, was keeping us from freezing to death all during that entire winter. So it works. If you got heating issues and you are a renter and you cannot afford a new furnace or anything like that, use a computer, waste a whole bunch of energy, and let those things heat your house for you. It works really well. And some months I made more money than I spent. So I'd make like $30 extra a month off of it. So that'd work. Hey, look at that. I'm only 50 minutes behind the chat again. Woo! I'm just past the point where we started the show. Girk BlackRock Insider. Houston, did you have Amazon causing a recession on your bingo card? No, I did not. Apparently, it's the Rivian loss. Like they lost $7.6 billion on Rivian last quarter alone. Oops. Oopsie. I saw my first Rivian in the wild the other day. They drove past me on the highway. I was like, oh, that's a Rivian. But no, I did not think Amazon would be taking such a hit. I mean, it's so bad that they were supposed to make $8 and change profit per share. That's some good money. That's why the stock price is $3,000 or whatever. Instead, they lost $7 and change per share. There's a $15 swing, $16 swing maybe, between the two, between where it should have been and where it was. And that is bad. That is some of the worst reporting ever. They lost $189 billion in market value today. Jeff Bezos lost $20 billion alone. Oof. That's I mean, it's happened to all of them. It happened to Zuckerberg earlier this year when everyone's like, "Oh, Meta's garbage." It happened to Elon earlier this week, where $100 billion was wiped away in value from Tesla. What are you gonna do? Recession, baby, it's coming. Richard White, SEC gag order on anyone presenting anything to them. Gherkin saying the stock split dividend is not the coup de grace. It's not the only kill shot GME has. Love the show. I think the stock split dividend has the potential to be friggin' gnarly. I will have to learn more about these entropy swaps because I know nothing about them and see if they are a magic bullet. I don't know. But I can't think of another way they can get out of that without shenanigans, but shenanigans are the name of the game, so maybe. Kalen Walker, price on Super Stonk today saying price will fall with stock dividend. I mean, it normally should. It dilutes the number of shares out there, so normally would fall. But the entire point of this being a short play is that stock dividend results in forced buying, causing the price to go up. So the overall value of your one share that's now 7 shares, 10 shares, or whatever, the overall value is going to be higher than if you just had the one share. So that's how it works. Oh, Daphne, is this No Mod Friday? Are you the only one in here, Daphne? Having to do everything all yourself? Let's just get ready. We'll see if the hot boys and girls show up. Just in my head, since Trump hasn't been charged by New York SD, does that mean the grand jury is dissolved? Heard today's the deadline. I don't know. I think the Southern District of New York has sort of abdicated to the state attorney general and the Manhattan DA. So I don't know. I don't know if that's gone further. But wasn't there something with Weisserman? Popped the news. I just saw a brief headline about something shady with business dealings between Weisserman, who was the accountant, and Trump. I didn't look any further into it because it just flew through my feed and didn't see. Oh, okay. Now this is where I get scrolling through fast because now everyone's just making fun of me for the second intro. And Marvin G, happy birthday, Houston. How would you explain to someone we are not a cult? I wouldn't, because we probably are a cult. Yeah, we're probably more of a cult than anything else. So I don't think I could explain to somebody that we weren't a cult. We have a cult. We're a cult with a purpose. I think we got some pretty good reasons why we're members of this cult. But we're definitely a cult. So, sorry to burst your bubble. Adrian PD. Anyone have links to OnlyFans? Does he wear more shirts? Sad Boy Incorporated. Are you watching Prehistoric Planet on Apple Plus? what do you think of feathered dinosaurs and cold places such as the Arctic and Arctic? I don't have Apple Plus, so I've not seen that. But feathered dinosaurs probably were a thing. I think we even found some fossilized feather imprints in slate and stuff. Now, where the Arctic and Antarctic are different than where they are today, or where they were then, or different than where they are today. Like you can go to Alaska. Alaska's cold as shit. Find dinosaur fossils with tropical ferns. And be like, oh, well, this means Alaska was once in a tropical location because all this stuff moves around constantly. These plates are always moving, like ice floating in a bathtub, and you can look at Google Earth time. Let's Google Earth it here. Bing. Bing. Okay. So we got South America. We got Africa. We have Antarctica. You also have Madagascar, India, Australia, New Zealand. Okay. So Gondwana land was when these continents were all together. So South America, Africa, Antarctica, and Australia, as well as the subcontinent of India and Madagascar, New Zealand. And they were all together. And you can see, any grade schooler can see that it looks like South America fits into Africa. And if you look at the spreading ridge, you can see that was once the case. This is basically a conveyor belt coming out and moving these two things further apart. But if you look to the south, there's a conveyor belt here as well. So Australia, Antarctica, South America, Antarctica, Africa, and Australia all were together at one time, and they've been spreading apart via these spreading ridges that are between all the oceans, making the oceans larger. Now, there are points where you can dig here in South Africa, you can dig here in South America, you can dig here in Antarctica, and you can dig right out here in like around Perth, Australia, and you can find the exact same fossils with the exact same plants and the exact same dinosaur creatures. And they're all tropical. Because all of these four continents, where they met at this junction, had the same climate and the same creatures and the same habitat and ecology. And then it all broke apart, separating all of them, leaving them to their own devices whenever that was that they broke apart 300 million years ago or so. And that is why you will see tropical things. You find tropical fossils here in Antarctica because at one time it was in the tropics, or at least the subtropics. So, very real possibility that feathered creatures ended up in the colder climes, but also that you find tropical things in the southern climes. Why is there a pinpoint out here in the ocean? What are you for? What are you? I don't know why you're there. Okay. Bing. But no, I don't have Apple Plus yet. I heard Ted Lasso is fun to watch, but I haven't seen that. It's Sean Pod. No one told you zipper was down because I like the view. Letting the cow out of the barn. Just in my head, if Gmae doesn't do a share recall, how will we know if our brokers give us synthetic divvy shares or real ones? Well, the brokers, I don't think, can give you synthetic ones. That's the entire point. If they do, someone's breaking the rules. So I don't think they can do that. They may, to stave off some sort of... Oh, did one of you fart? Holy cow. Oh, sorry. My eyes are about to water. Someone just greased one in this tiny little room. And that is fortunate. That one's twitching in his sleep, so it's probably him. Oh, woo! Breathe deep, Houston. The only way it's gonna filter out of here is through your lungs. Okay. Oh, I just reset my brain on that one. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Gmae doesn't do a share recall. How will we know if brokers give us synthetic divvy shares or real ones? That is, people talk about share recalls, and I think the recalls that are going to happen are going to come from lenders. So The lender's going to go, we're recalling shares. Everything we lent out, come to us before this dividend happens. So I think that's where we're going to see recalls happen. The fake shares, there's from naked shorting. I don't know if those will get recalled. I think those will trigger a different set of squeeze conditions. But if Rule 3 passes, I don't know. Daphne, are you putting your name in to be AMC board? Sure. I'll write that letter. Why not? Type. All I have to say is, my name is Houston Wade. I am willing to be nominated for the board, and then fold it up, lick a stamp, send it on its way, and then if somebody throws my name in there, whatever. Sure, that'd be fun. They would hate my guts, man. I feel like, bad show up to the first board meeting and I just get like the cold shoulder from everybody. They just wouldn't acknowledge me. Be like, my hand's raised, anyone call on me? And they're not going to call on me. But we do need to get apes on the board for sure. We need to bust up that good old boy network that's been controlling the AMC board and put fresh blood in there that has our interests as retail investors front and center. That's what needs to happen. Tammy Thompson, happy birthday, Houston. Are you going to stream during MOASS? I think the dog just farted again. Prepare myself. Yes, I will stream. I don't know how much streaming I'll be doing during MOASS. Streaming may consist of you guys looking at me while I stare at a chart. And that maybe I might even be looking at what you guys have to say. I'll just be like staring at a chart in the other monitor. But I will do my best. Why not? Friday Tate Explosion. Aloha Friday, Houston. Aloha Friday. Leaving work early, are you? Aaron Salentine. Houston. So do you know what the date of record is for GME stock dividend? We do not. It has not been established yet and probably won't be established until after the shareholders meeting. So I can buy more GME on margin and get 5 free shares for 24 hours, give them back to broker, receive free shares? Not such a bad idea. Not such a bad idea. Yeah. Yeah, because if you buy them on margin, they're your shares, right? And then you just give the share back that you bought on margin. That seems to make sense to me. How I Met Your MOASS. Who do you think is the worst member of AMC board, and why isn't it the guy with the name Hawk on the proxy? My guess is, I can't remember the dude's name. The one that is the marketing VP, who was head of marketing for Blockbuster, head of marketing for Radio Shack, and head of marketing for Washington Mutual. For all three, when each one went under, and now he's in charge at AMC. I think that dude is one of those plants from a fund that you stick in there to destroy a company. And now he's like, oh, it's really hard to destroy this company that people are paying attention to us and inflating our stock. I don't know what to do. So, yeah, that'd be my guess. Like, if you're 0 for 3, if you're the head of marketing at 3 companies that all went belly up, either you're really bad at your job or you're really good at your job and your job is not to actually be the head of marketing. Like, if every time I got in my car, I ran someone over, I'm either the worst driver in the world or I've been getting away with murder every time I go and drive. Right? It's going to be one or the other. Either way, I should not be in that position. I should not be behind the wheel. Richard Swinehart, hey, Houston, any recommendations on who should be on the board of AMC? I know nominations are coming up soon. Whoever you want. Just tell them, if you're going to nominate them, that they need to write a letter saying they accept the option of being nominated. So, yeah. Kyle Cooper, Houston, can you discuss the hexagonal storm at the North Pole of Saturn? Hexagonal storm? I don't know. Oh, this thing. Yeah. I think this has to do with magnetic fields. It's pretty cool looking. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm looking at. Turn off you. This guy. Hexagonal motion, Saturn solar system. Yeah, I don't know the exact fluid dynamic physics of it, but it's been round and it's also been hexagonal shaped, and I don't know the exact fluid dynamics. Here's a simulation. Is this going to show me anything? Go away. Go ads, go away. Oh, look at this ad. Nothing like the universe today having some sexy time ads. Here we go. Why aren't you showing me the model? Oh, here we go. That's what I wanted. I wanted to get all the way to here. I'm sure somebody's explaining things about Saturn, and just show me the model. Show me the model. Where's the? Here we go. That's what we want. All right, weather patterns. We got some weather patterns. We have storms inside storms. Got the North Pole flying around. Okay, show me more model. Show me more model. All right. So we got, looks like 6 convection zones. Probably what I was saying. And that as those convection zones meet the rotational patterns, it sort of slices off bits like a gyroscope. Gyroscope? I don't think of the no. What are those things called? Gyro. Things you play with. You put your pencil in, and you draw all sorts of patterns. That'd be my. Oh, why can my brain think of the name for that? Ugh. Brain farts all around. Anyway, I'll look into that more, but my guess has to do with patterns of convection, magnetic fields, and the herky-jerkiness of that rotational period with it. Daphne, next Charity Tuesday, get Houston some heating oil. By next Charity Tuesday, it's going to be like the end of May. It's going to be glorious. We'll probably be in the middle of yet another drought here in the Northwest. So, how far behind? Oh my God, we're an hour behind. Oh, shoot. And the chat just reset again. So, who am I? Where am I? I'm cut off at about almost 2 p.m. here. So that puts me 44 minutes behind because I just skipped about 15 minutes of questions. There we go. Say my name. Say it. If the government makes digital dollar, they control us. Well, I mean, what's stopping them now? They control the actual dollar. The thing about digital dollar is that if we move to only a digital dollar system and we don't also have paper money, is that so much of the power of the United States is the physical distribution of that cash to places that wouldn't have access to such digital currencies. Exporting cash is a big part of our economy. Conversely, the counterfeiting of cash outside the United States is also a big part of our economy. It doesn't affect us directly. Gets cash moving around other systems and societies, and people recognize it as purchasing power. So our cash gets to be ubiquitous, even if it's being counterfeited and used overseas by fake actors. So if they have a digital dollar and we have less ability of getting that money out there because we went paperless, then we've got some issues. There's big issues happening with the folks that were trying to get out of Russia. And, the Russian government was limiting how much hard currency you could withdraw from your account and how much currency in general you could. And then they're losing access to the internet or to trading applications where digital currencies were. Excuse me. And they're running trouble there. So having a cash system does serve purpose. So it's good to keep that cash system, I think. Post-MOASS, everybody should get one of those turbo bidets they got in Japan. Yeah, just with writing you can read, so you don't, clean the walls of your bathroom. First, people need to start washing their hands after they use the bathroom. Ecology, yes. Wash your hands, man. Hugh G. Rection, Houston. Do you think stromatolites really supplied the planet with oxygen? Seems likely. Those of you who don't know what stromatolites are, they're kind of like these primitive coral reefs that were in tidal zones, 3.5 billion years ago, starting out. I think the only examples of ones that are living today are still in Australia. Stromatolites. Bing. So these guys. And there's some of the oldest fossils on record. And what they did was they ended up creating what are called the banded iron formations. So the Earth was mostly carbon dioxide. Because remember, it's early Earth. These volcanoes are farting out stuff like crazy because we were a goo ball a few years earlier because we got hit with so many meteorites and asteroids and whatnot. And so it's like 97% carbon dioxide. And these things started processing that carbon dioxide and turning it into oxygen. And since they're some of the oldest fossils we could find, we pretty much think that they were the original oxygenators, terraformers of our planet. And they live in these tidal zones. They breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. And the early ones, because there's such low oxygen levels, they could pull iron out of the ground, and they would for nutrients, and the iron wouldn't rust. So it would cake on sort of this limestone, and then iron, then limestone, then iron, then limestone, then iron, and that happened until oxygen levels got higher, and the oxygen started to rust the iron. So banded iron. So they made these really cool rocks. Where's a good banded? Where's a beautiful? This is a pretty beautiful banded iron here. Oh, it's too small. I want a big one. So basically, it's rock, iron, rock, iron, rock, iron, rock, iron, rock, iron, and the stromatolites formations, where a bunch of them are found, is in this little place called Michigan, and these stromatolite fossils make for fantastic ore because it's really high, really pure iron, and high concentration, really pure iron. And so, a whole bunch of car companies were founded not too far from where the banded iron was being mined to make sheet metal vehicles and iron engines and stuff like that. So, they can be really beautiful. Some of the coolest, that's a good one. Some of the coolest rocks you'll find are banded iron. You cut them and you polish them, you leave them as thin section, and they're just gorgeous. So banded iron. Here's some from Michigan. Banded iron formations. Give me a map. Give me a map. Give me a map. That's how it forms. Where in Michigan are they? Banded iron. Get rid of the stromatolites and just do banded iron, maybe. Oh, that's a big one. Look at that sucker. That is cool. So that's a dead sea creature right there. Also a dead sea creature. Here we go. So here at Banded Iron, this is on the Upper Peninsula. So this is Wisconsin-ish side. Whole bunch up there. Some Upers. And then should have been a whole bunch in Michigan proper, but I'm not finding a map yet. This what I want? Oh, that's Minnesota. Here's Banded Iron also. The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald was moving banded iron ore from Minnesota, I believe, through the Great Lakes, and was supposed to go up St. Charles River. So the Edmund Fitzgerald was one of those ships moving that iron ore out of the Minnesota area. This one also, that's also Minnesota. I want Michigan map, dude. Give me a Michigan map. Michigan map. Well, that's not giving me one. But anyway, yeah, Stromatolites were awesome. And they are a big reason why there's so much steel stuff we use today. Because those formations were all over the world. In Ukraine. A whole bunch in Ukraine. Which is why the largest ironworks of the Soviet era, which were all blown up by the Russians recently, were in Mariupol. That was close to the mines where they got out those banded iron formations, and they had huge steel works there. They made steel out of it. Dude, the dog is totally farting up a storm in here. All right, buddy. 40 minutes, and I can finally let you just do whatever you need to do to get that out of you. Because if I let you out of this room now, I'm going to find it downstairs. So, 40 minutes. Whew. Oh, God. Holy cow, that dog is farting so bad. Making my teeth hurt. That's what's happening. Face bones hurting from dog farts. Okay. Wheat Wild. There's amazing skiing in Greece. A good Greek friend of mine had a great skiing holiday in Greece this winter. Really good and not expensive. Skiing in Greece. Ski resort, Greece, ski resort info. All right. I'm listening. 117 ski lifts in Greece. Largest ski resorts, 36 kilometers of slopes. You got as much as 2,000 meters of vertical. That's pretty darn good. 30 euros for a lift ticket? What? 10 euros? 13 euros? Oh my. Okay. All right. Looks like I'm planning a ski trip to Greece, baby. 15 euros, 13 euros, 25. Huh. All right, Wheat Wild. You have my attention. 14 euros. I'll go skiing in Greece. You guys can't see what I'm seeing. All right, sorry. I forget that. Bunch of tiny little places. These are tiny places. There's also heli skiing. But seriously, 10 euros. 3 ski lifts, not much. But, for $10, why not? 8 euros, 1 lift. 14 euros, 3 lifts. 13 euros, 4 lifts. 12 euros, 5 lifts. 15, 5 lifts. 15, 11 lifts for this place. They're always got the big vertical feet. These got 2,000 vertical feet, 2,000. Oh, it's meters, sorry. Oh, that's good. 2,000 meters. 7 lifts, 13. So the most expensive place is 30 euros, 17 lifts, 1,000 meters, so 3,000 vertical feet. That's as good as you can get here in the Northwest. All right. Going to Greece. Who wants to go skiing in Greece? I do. Meow meow. It's your fault for feeding him beans all the time. Feeding dogs beans. That's 2 demerits. Oh. So, speaking of the dogs. Give us something to fart with. Let's see him get perked up. Some wonderful person, I don't know who, sent me pig ears. And I I picked them up at the PO box yesterday. I'm feeling this bag, and I'm like, there's a tear in this. No wonder they could smell it. I was like, I don't know what this is. I thought it was like, I was trying to guess. In my head, it said, feels like party hats, but instead, it was pig ears. That's why it felt like party hats. Do you want that one? Yeah? Okay. Hey, big dog. Hey, you want that one? There you go. Oh, drop it. You got two on it. Okay. So we get to listen to them playing pig ears for a while. Put that back up there so they don't steal them. It's even higher than the dog is. We concluded that the big dog is about 5'5", 5'6", somewhere in there when he stands up on his hind legs. So he can reach a lot of things. Okay. Are you even going to chew on them? They just took them from me, now they're just staring at them, so. Maybe they're just too tired to chew on them. Oh, there you go. Now I can hear them working. All right. Tulip, Houston, say we squeeze after the dividend, not before, and the price split 7 times does not affect the price. Affect the price it will reach. Well, let's say if it does, right? You get 7 more shares, so you have total 8 shares, and you're like, my goal was to sell that first share at $100,000, right? Okay. So if it does affect the top price, then we're looking at $14,000 per share. Okay. So you sell at that and you end up with just as much money. The difference is that if there are as many synthetics as we think there are, that this could basically like 5x their obligation in the number of shares they have to buy. So rather than having to buy each share 10 times, I have to buy each share like 30 times in order to get out of this. So we could be seeing big prices still, regardless of if it dilutes originally or not. Peter Joy, I voted against the divvy. Didn't feel right. Peter Joy, you monster. Can you hear him chomping away? Monkey Butt just fell asleep on top of hers. So just the big dog chewing right now. Dobda, forgiveness of student loans won't happen. It's part of assets under management for too many financial firms. I mean, that was the argument. But if all these financial firms are going to die anyway, oh well, right? Who cares if it's under the assets under management? If their mortgage-backed securities are failing, if their treasuries are failing, and if their Chinese bonds are failing, and if their Sri Lankan bonds are failing, and if the Russian bonds are failing, if the Russian train bonds are failing, and like, if there are so many bonds and other securities that are collapsing, what's one more log on the fire? May as well torch that thing. Okay. AMC earnings next week. I think the AMC earnings are going to be pretty bad. I mean, what's the biggest film to come out last quarter? Batman and Morbius. Any other movies come out in theaters? I think Batman, maybe the only saving grace that they had for last quarter, but I think quarter one's going to be pretty dismal. Not too much good stuff happening there. What if AMC earnings next week triggers MOASS? No. Quarter one in your earnings for a movie theater are never going to trigger MOASS. January generally is when you dump every shitty movie you have that you're like, well, we made this PG-13 horror movie no one likes. We'll dump it in theaters now. Uh, usually at the end of March, you'll get the first like summer blockbusters, which was Batman, and that's it. There's some residual Spider-Man stuff, but there's not enough movies for people to really be interested in. Moki123G, interest rates are like control rods in a nuclear reactor. That's a good analogy. I like that. You sort of stick them in and pull them out just as as things heat up too much or don't heat up enough. J-Dog, Houston, where can I find a quadruple A battery? Try Amazon. They could use your business right now. Houston, do BlackRock and Vanguard pretty much own everything? Seems like they aren't everything. Yeah, that's what they are. They largely do index funds. So they buy big chunks of every single company that exists. And so that's how they make their index funds, is that they own everything. Because generally, if you have your finger in every single solitary pie, and if the economy is always rising pretty much year over year, except for a few dips here and there, then over time, if you own parts of everything, you are higher in the future than you were where you started. And that's the entire basis of doing index funds. Man, pig ears are loud. This dog is going to town. William Morgan, they didn't cover GME when it hit 483. It will require market crash to force margin calls. Yep. And liquidations. And the market crash will result in these hedge funds not being able to find liquidity from anyone because everyone's liquidity vaporized. Yeah. Mate Sabados, do you think AMC could hit $1,000? Yeah. Unless the board screws that up, yeah. I can see them being like, oh, we're going to issue another 500 million shares. And they just dump them to Mudrick again. And then everyone's prices all crash once more. Ryan, the atypical 2E ADHD entrepreneur. That's quite a mouthful of a name. If entropy swaps are used based on price against short interest, and we can prove a giant short interest until after the dividend, then I believe the government will try to use it beforehand to stop MOASS. Again, I don't know enough about entropy swaps to talk about that. So, yeah, maybe? I don't know. Prontol. Hello, I am Prontol. What are the environmental consequences of potential nuclear attack in Ukraine for the locals, the neighboring countries, and the U.S.? Thank you. Oof. Man. So there's been lots of talk from military evaluators saying that basically what I was saying 2 months ago, that Putin painted himself into a corner. His offensive was so offensive that it's failing miserably. And he's losing soldiers like crazy. He's losing ground. There's nothing strategic about what he's managed to do. And so much of Russia's machismo, their aura, was that people feared their military. And now everyone sees what a paper tiger their military was and how garbage their soldiers, their weapons, their planning, their everything, just their logistics, like how terrible everything through the entire echelon of their military is, that people aren't going to want their weapons anymore. They're not going to want to buy their tanks. They're not going to want to buy their rockets. They're not going to want to buy their planes because they're all garbage. So Putin can't accept a defeat, because if he accepts a defeat, then he's not the strong person that he's projected to the entire world. He's a weak person. And so to save face, he's probably going to launch. He's probably going to launch a nuclear warhead, and he's going to escalate this conflict in a terrible way. Now, people are saying it's going to be a tactical nuke or whatever, and they're going to strike Kyiv or they're going to hit whatever. All those options would basically necessitate NATO stepping in. And if NATO steps in to the conventional war, Russia loses in a matter of days. Russia cannot keep up with the conventional weapons of NATO. They are superior. They're better. They do so much more, and Russia can't take that. They're toast. So which means Russia would have to nuke everything, and that's just World War III awfulness. So isolating just a nuclear attack on somewhere in Ukraine alone, depending on where it is and what it affects, it could hit a large-scale nuclear power plant, resulting in meltdowns of reactors, resulting in widespread fallout, which means that stuff's blowing over Russia, that stuff's blowing over Belarus, that stuff's blowing over Scandinavia, and everyone's going to have to be stuck on iodine tablets. Expand outward from that, and it could result in nuclear attacks all over the world, and then you just have to worry about nuclear winter happening. I know if it becomes a full nuclear conflict, I won't have to worry about doing this podcast anymore because I won't be here. I'm literally in the middle of 7 first strike locations. They can all be hit by Russian weapons, and see you later. I hope I'm cuddling the dogs or something when it happens, and we can go out smile with a smile on our face, but it will, yeah, I'm toast. That sucker just cooked me from 7 different sides, and that'll be it. So I'm not looking forward to that. I don't think there's a diplomatic solution. I know some people are like, oh, I gotta give diplomacy a chance. You cannot negotiate with a rabid dog. Assholes, when they're backed into a corner, would rather make it so that no one can have what they have. You know the type of guy that like, I love you. If I can't have you, no one will. And they do the murder-suicide crap. That is the position Putin is in with an entire region. If I can't have you, no one will. And that's going to be, I think that's the mindset of that type of asshole. And he delegated the prime minister to run the country's day-to-day, and he's now become supreme commander of the war in Ukraine, which, when a president starts doing that the war is fucked. Hitler was not a great strategist. And Putin, so far, is not a great strategist. So he's going to have to escalate. And that's the sad thing. And that's my biggest fear at the moment is when he decides he has to escalate. Some are putting a date on it, saying it's going to be May 9th, which is Victory Day. I don't know if you can put a hard date on it, but it's coming. Whatever the escalation, whatever form it's in, it's coming. He's going to have to double down. He's got a sunk cost fallacy in there that he cannot get over and will not get over. Because if he does go, oh shit, I lost the sucker, and pulls back, then they lose 20% of their economy of weapon sales. All of the oligarchs who are losing fortunes as a result of this, they're going to turn on him in a way that no one ever has. They're going to smell that weakness. So he has to escalate. And there you go. Okay. Where am I? Was that question? There's Ryan, the atypical question. Check that over. 3:09 p.m. Okay, I got 21 minutes or so. And I am still 50 minutes behind in there. Connor Nee, can you explain metamaterial squeeze and how high it will go? For the 1 millionth time. Okay. You had metamaterial. Canadian company that works with like nanotech, little engineering, tiny little things. Mostly with films that are printed that can be stuck on stuff doing cool things. I mean, imagine having a Faraday cage film that's invisible to the naked eye on your microwave door, right? And so you don't have to have this weird perforated screen anymore. You can barely see what's going on. You have what looks like a clear screen that's protecting you from those microwave radiations, and you can see your food spinning around clear as day inside a microwave. Who wouldn't buy that microwave versus one where it's got the little holes and you can't see what's going on? That's how that is something that metamaterial can do. So metamaterial, they went public in Canada on the Toronto Exchange in March of 2020, just a few days after the entire globe shut down from coronavirus, and the market went. And the main product they were launching was these glasses that can protect pilots from being shot in the eyes with lasers. And no one was traveling. Therefore, airlines did not need to buy laser protecting glasses. So, their company basically halted before they could even start. But they still had a whole bunch of seed money, and they got a bunch of cool technology. And so they're like, crap, what should we do? And their CEO, George, is a wheeler and dealer. And later that year, he found Torchlight. And Torchlight was an oil company that had a bunch of leases in West Texas. And he was like, hey, no one's traveling. Oil prices are bottoming out. Your stock has been shorted to 21 cents and you're about to be delisted from the NASDAQ. How about we merge? Metamaterial adopts the Torchlight spot on the NASDAQ, and all those Torchlight shares become Metamaterial shares, and we just sell off your oil and be done with oil. And the Torchlight people were like, totally. Because the Torchlight people had done that originally. There was a stripper pole company, I don't remember their name, but like they made stripper poles you can install inside your home. And 15, 20 years ago, when that was like a hot fad and all these housewives were like becoming strippers in their homes, were buying them like crazy. That company was traded on the NASDAQ. They started failing miserably, and Torchlight came in and was like, hey, stripper pole company, can you merge with us and we will become Torchlight? And they're like, sure, cool. And so this has a history. So the idea was that with the merger, you have all these Torchlight shares, you have all these Metamaterial shares, they would merge and all become Metamaterial. But those who own Torchlight would get a second group of shares that were the Torchlight preferred shares. And these are shares that would sit in your account and not get traded. And eventually, when they sold off all of the oil fields and equipment, that those shares would become cash and then disappear forever. So your old Torchlights would become these Metamaterial shares, and you would also get these special dividend shares on the side. Okay. Flash forward to this fall. Suddenly, those Torchlight preferred shares, NMTLP, start trading, and they're not supposed to trade. They're supposed to sit in your account, stay in your account, and not move anywhere. But they start trading all over the place, bouncing back and forth, trading. And this is because oil prices started to skyrocket. Now, it was originally thought that the preferred share dividend might be like $2 a share. So if you bought your Torchlight stock for under $1 or under $2, and you got more than $2 out of it in the end, you made whatever percentage, but it's like, not so bad for gains. All right. Now, if you all of a sudden, that's with oil trading at $35 a barrel. Now oil's trading at $105 a barrel. And the lands that Torchlight owned could only produce oil profitable if oil prices are above like $57. So when oil's trading at $35, no one wants that land. Now that oil's trading at $105 and you could make $50 profit off of every single barrel pumped out of the ground, that land suddenly is worth billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. So now that Torchlight preferred share dividend went from like $2 in value to possibly $20 or more in value. So everyone who shorted Torchlight into the ground in like August 2020, they are now liable for upwards of $20 or more per share. Some are even saying it might be as much as $100 a share, which that just seems so crazy to me that I won't even consider it. So I'm hoping for 20. I'm cool with 20. Anything more than that. So if they shorted 1 billion shares and ends up being a $2 dividend, then they got to come up with $2 billion. Okay, that sucks, but we can do it. If it's $20 a share and they come up with $20 billion, no one has that cash. If it's $100 a share and they come up with $100 billion, to pay off all these dividends, then they're screwed. And if they can't pay off the shorts they made or the ones they borrowed, they're going to get liquidated and forced to come up with the cash for the dividend and forced to buy the Torchlight share that they had shorted originally. But the problem is that Torchlight share is now a metamaterial share. So they have to buy metamaterial shares for the Torchlight shares that they shorted, which would eventually cause metamaterial prices to rise. And that is the easiest, longest way that I can possibly explain that. So I hope that works for you, Connor Nee. That's what we're sitting on. And how high it can go? $100. I mean, I was thinking somewhere in the line of what happened with Newegg last year, and that was like $77 a share. So, but Newegg wasn't being talked about as a squeeze play in that way. Way Torchlight is, so I think Torchlight has the potential to go higher than what Newegg had. Elon sold $8 billion of Tesla. Was that just announced? That's from Moki. William Morgan, when Arca ghosts receive margin calls, they refuse to answer the phone to prevent them. Yeah. La 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 la. That seems to be an amazing. I mean, literally, the margin call is someone calling. Hello, calling margin. So if you don't answer, no one answered the phone. Receptionist, you're fired. Get out of here. It's pretty brilliant. Can I margin email then? Spencer's Inside Out sweater. If we're cult, wears our matching sweatshirts. We should all wear Spencer's Inside Out sweater, shouldn't we? Oh, Persia's Sun's got coordinates. Let's do some coordinates. We haven't had some coordinates in a couple of shows sent our way, so let's get there. Bam, bam. We're going somewhere. Where are we going? We're going to... Where am I? Am I in Madagascar? Let me first zoom out. I think this might have been Madagascar. There we are. Yep, we're in Madagascar. Okay. We are in... This looks like one of the chevrons. Where are we? We are on a little mountaintop. Our plateau on top of the mountain. And so this place that gives us a view. Go right there. Proteus Sun, you give me the worst places to go. I should never trust when you give me coordinates. We're just someplace in Madagascar in a small forest. There might be some lemurs or something bouncing around there. But there is not a whole lot going on here at all. Bing. All along here, though, is great gemstones that we found. So there's that. All right, that's enough of that one. Project Sun. The worst coordinates. Just random points on Earth that mean nothing. And I fall for it every single time. Bank margin emailing. Gee, why don't you release these as a podcast? That is because I'm an idiot. And there's a little button that's down here next to start stream that's called record. And I'm supposed to be hitting the record button, record the show, and then I convert it to an MP3 and release it on a podcast. And I just don't remember to do it. So, a lovely person is taking like 140 of my shows, putting them in MP3 form so that I can load them one by one into Podbean and go out to all the podcasts. But I just need to remember to record the stupid show. Uh, I'm an idiot. That's why. That's why I don't have it in podcast form, because I just don't remember to do it. And this is why I need a million subscribers so I can afford to like have a producer just do this crap for me. So I can just focus on talky, and they can do worky, and that'll be a perfect marriage between my scatterbrainness and their type A personality who will conquer the world eventually. That's what I need. Big Tramp, do you think I'm going to be underwater if I bought my house in 2020? I think it's going to depend on where and when in 2020 you bought. If you bought like Midwest early in 2020, yeah, you're fine. If you bought on the coasts later in 2020, that might be at a price that it might go below that when the market finally cools off. So yeah. William Morgan, when he used to mention swaps, he's referring to financial markets, not porn lifestyle choices. Just picturing hedge fund guys calling up and referring to themselves as swingers for swapping things. All right, you goofy guys. You'll be like George Seinfeld with the foundation. Seabound 117, since they know a nomination acceptance letter is required, won't AMC just lose all the letters? I mean, that's why if you send it, you should probably send it with a tracking number or certified. Because then, I don't know, you could sue. Be like, hey, I know I was nominated, and I know that I accepted the nomination, so why am I on here? And yeah, send it certified. Make someone sign for that thing. Certified letter for AMC. Okay. And then they know they got it. And you know you can prove that they got it. Oh, and chat reset again because you're a jerk and you're always resetting. Okay, there we are. All right, people talk about Saturn. William Morgan, boss, why is calling off? Employee, I've got MOASS. Boss, okay, that sounds pretty serious. Take all the time you need. Spiral graphs. Thank you, J-Dog. The little circly drawing thing. Spiral graphs. Yes. Geodetic patterns. That's... why can't I think of that thing? All right. 7 minutes-ish left on the day. Let's see here. Might as well... I've got 7 minutes left. I should probably go to the bottom. Sorry if I missed your stuff between like 2:40 p.m. and more recent. Let's see what we got here. Phil Bill, HSBC does not own Barclays or Lloyd's. I don't know about that. I thought they owned Lloyd's. I thought so. Where's your Wikipedia? They'll tell me. Wikipedia. Lloyd's Bank. Formerly Lloyd's TSB Bank, Public Limited Company, Financial Services, Headquarters, Founder, Products. Oh, no, they don't. Why do I think they own Lloyd's? Weird. All right, I'm totally wrong. I'll accept that. I thought they were somehow connected, but maybe it's just because they're British. Hong Kong, Shanghai, Lloyd's. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. Cut my channel about knowledge. I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. Meow meow. Any chance hedge funds can dig up Gary Coleman, reanimate him, and mount a death ray on his head to stop MOASS? If it were in the cards, they would have done it already, meow meow. We would have had little Gary Coleman taking people out of the kneecaps all over the place already. G-Money, Elon Musk buying Twitter and taking it private will force shorts to close their position and cause a squeeze. I don't think there's enough shorts positions on Twitter at the moment to force them to do that. I just don't think there are. I don't think there's enough. That if they got to close, there's, it's 5% possible of shorts exist on Twitter. I don't think that's enough to trigger it. Pacific Northwest Texan, best site within 1 hour of Bonnie Lake to explore with the kids this weekend. Anything cool like old bunkers, caves, hidden treasures in the area, trying to avoid long hikes like Cougar Mountain. All right, let's go to Bonnie Lake. Bonnie Lake is, where are you? Where are you? Google Earth, there we go. Only time I go through Bonnie Lake is when I'm going skiing. Oops. Bonnie Lake. Washington. I'm going skiing out at Crystal. So Bonnie Lake. Outside Tacoma here. Okay, so the coolest place to go is this big giant mountain that overlooks you right here. Paradise Lodge, Camp Muir, tons of glaciers to go hike to. Really awesome stuff. If you go to Chinook Pass, which is on the other side of Mount Rainier, right here, Highway 410, I believe, goes along here. It is really beautiful. You get to the other side of Chinook Pass, and there's like really cool lakes, and it's gorgeous all through here. It's really cool alpine environment. I highly recommend it. In the summertime, you go along the Bumping River, which turns into the American River, or the other way around. American River turns into the Bumping River, which then becomes the Natchez River, which then goes to the Yakima River. Cool river to play on. Lots. You can find gold. You can find geodes. The water's fairly warm in the summertime, so it's not that bad. You can play in it pretty well. And then if you go the other way from here, so out in Bonnie Lake, Nya. You got the capital. Go play there. If you go further, you can go to like Satsupp, which is here. And there's an old abandoned nuclear power plant that never got finished. It's got 2 towers. Dong dong. They turned it into an industrial park, so there's like businesses and stuff inside of the old power station buildings. This cooling tower is mostly finished. This one is a hollow shell. And if you either get permission or without telling anyone, hop the fence and go inside. There's a fence that goes around it. Just hop the fence and go inside. If they bust you, whatever. Don't make you pay for your legal bills if you get caught. But the acoustics are some of the coolest things you'll ever experience in your entire life. You can have one of your kids stand at this end. You can go stand over on this end, and you can whisper, and it sounds like someone's shouting in your ear. It's crazy. There's 17 reflection points inside this parabolic structure of the cooling tower, and it is really cool to experience talking inside of this thing. It'll melt your brain, man. So yes, I recommend that. So this was a power plant that never got finished. I think it died in like 84. They lost funding to finish the power plant. Other cool things to do if you're going around Bonnie Lake, not too far from there. Well, there's the old train path. So you have I-90 goes along here past Snoqualmie Pass, and there is the old train route. Is this it? Through Martin? Or is it crap? There's a train tunnel somewhere around here. That's the ski resort. Is this the train path? This might be the train path. Shoot, that might be Forest Road. Crap. Somewhere along here there's a tunnel. And it's an old train tunnel. You climb basically through the mountain, pop out the other side, and then there's train tracks that go to Seattle from here. And there's old ghost towns the entire way. So you can come to it from this side, or you can hike it from the other side of I-90 and go through the tunnel and work your way down. But it's a great place to like bring mountain bikes or dirt bikes, and you can ride along and visit like these old little abandoned towns that are just getting covered by the forest now, and the train no longer goes through there, and the tracks are all torn up. But there's like, oh, there's an old train station. It's pretty cool. So I can't remember which side. If it's this side where the power lines are, or if it's this side. I can't remember. Maybe I might have it. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Delete. Close. I want this. Oh, yeah. Did I mark them? Ah, yes, here. Okay. It was along the power line path here. So the old train line is this guy. So it meets up Lake Chess somewhere. Yeah. So there's 3 main ones: Nagrom, Hot Springs, and Leicester. And so these are 3 little ghost towns buried in the forest, basically being overgrown because the train no longer goes through there. So check that out. How's that for a start? That should work. And it just pushed me past 3:30. So, Wildcat Strike. Hi, I have a certified letter from Hugh G. Rection. Would you mind signing for it? Also, the return receipt is addressed to Dr. Shits and Farts. On that note, folks, hopefully I'll see you. I'll remember to do some Twitch this weekend, so I can see you doing some Twitch, playing some GeoGuessr or whatever. Maybe I am feeling like possibly doing some puzzles. Bailey is a Northwest person, but she's giving us some coordinates. Maybe I'll do one more coordinate before we leave. Why not? One more coordinate. I trust Bailey. I trust where she's going to take us. Where are you taking me, Bailey? We're going south. I'm going California. We're going, boom, to, what are you? Wild Horse Adult Resort and Spa. Okay, so we got ourselves to Sierra Nevada Bunny Ranch. Is that where we are? Is that Reno? Yep. So there we go. That's where Bailey suggests you should take your kids. It's more than an hour away from Bunny Lake, though. They got a pool. That's cool. Looks like they got another pool. They got 2 pools here. So Bailey is obviously knows what she wants. So there you go. All right, everybody. See you on some Twitch. Otherwise, see you Monday. And let's rock and roll and enjoy our weekend. And be good to yourselves and others. And got napping dogs on the floor. I'll see you guys later. Au revoir.